Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods for round 13 of the 2023 season. Bretty joins me to dissect the loss to the Saints, where we unfortunately could not get up for Buddy's potentially last milestones. So nonetheless, fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. Okay, Swans fans, a disappointing loss. So for consistency, we've made sure that Bretty joined the podcast this week. Bretty, welcome to the potty again, mate.
Always happy to come in and chat about a loss. Why not?
Yeah. All right, so just for a bit of consistency, for everyone out there to understand, unfortunately, Bretty just seems to only join in the losses. So I don't know why. If you want to put a petition together to have him removed off the podcast or just removed from the country and of technology generally, we'd accept that. But for now, let's get stuck into the details. Last Thursday night, our Sydney Swans were defeated by the St Kilda Saints by 14 points with a final score of 9-12-66 to 12-8-80. Well, Bretty, mate, what were your first impressions of that?
First impressions, I actually turned up to the game a few minutes late because I had a work function on, and my first impression was I felt like it was an ice rink out there. It seemed super slippery, and obviously it did rain. Well, not obvious to those that weren't in Sydney, but it just seemed ridiculously slippery. When we got there, and I think that went on for probably till after half time. Anyway, that was my first impression walking in and just watching everyone dropping the pill.
Disappointing.
I thought St Kilda were decent. They were pretty good. Don't want to take anything away from them. They made a hell of a lot more tackles than us, and it's just a disappointing night all round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. It kind of felt like their pressure was really high that made us fumble. But I will say something, that first quarter was probably the ugliest game of football I've ever seen in my life. I've seen some shitty football, but that took the cake. I feel that was the worst game of football for that first quarter. I know it looked that way at home because Jules also mentioned a similar thing, but at the ground, everyone, Saints and Swans fans, were all looking at each other going, what is going on? This is gross. So I don't know. Bretty, I reckon a big chunk of it was to do with the weather. Like it did rain for a fair bit in Sydney. But I don't know whether they decided to trial dishwashing liquid on the ground as detergent for a bit of oomph to make the grass look cleaner. I'm not sure what the plan was, but it looked like it was just super slippery out there, man.
Some cheeky Saints fans sabotaging. Someone got rid of the grippo. Should have been a lot of that on a lot of hands. But anyway, yes, it was very ugly. It felt like there was, even if there wasn't pressure, there were balls just not being picked up or going where they needed to go.
What about good, bad, the stats? Anything around the ground we should be pointing out that were interesting?
Well, we're all obviously disappointed with Parker getting his week off. But I think we'll all agree. Well, actually, I'm not sure if we all would, but I thought Sheldrick was very good in what felt like really his first game in the middle. I can't even remember how much time he played in the middle before. But yeah, I thought he had a great game. He got, I think it was 6 clearances, one of our highest clearance getters. He got 19 touches. So yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think it was it's definitely his first game in the middle and the inside. I don't know how many centre bounce attendances he'd had before that, but if it was only a couple at best because he's been playing like a half back or half forward or on a wing kind of thing. He looked the goods, man. It was kind of good to have. We're just trying to be looking for an excuse to have him in. He's one of those players that's just way too good for VFL. Going to VFL, get 20 clearances and 47 touches, and you're like, oh, this kid's going to be a gun. put him in the AFL, they sit him on the wing or sit him up a half back, and then he just doesn't quite have the impact on the game. Being in the guts of it, though, you can see that he's got what we can describe as the beef. He's got mid-inside energy. He's good with it. And I think, I'm looking forward to him getting some more time. Do you reckon that we see him for the rest of the season there, considering what we saw this week?
I hope so. I like the look of him. Parker will come back in this week. You'd like to think that he played himself into another week. But whether, for the rest of the season, we'll see how he goes over a couple of games. But definitely, I thought he earned another round next week, or this week, should I say, recording on a Monday.
Yeah, I know Papley's been having a lot of centre bounce clearance, a lot of centre bounce attendances. It just feels like it wasn't enough for him there. Like he's still starting to be sort out a bit, and we are missing a small forward. We're missing the amount of times the ball hits the ground, and it's just no pressure on their defenders to do a whole lot with it. We're just not getting those crummy ones like we should. We need some of those goals. I mean, if we had a couple of those goals, we would have won. We're not getting contested marks inside our 50. That's not happening. So we need something to happen, and I think sending Papley up forward would be grand, but that just means potentially some centre bounce attendances for someone else, and we're thinking Sheldrick for that, with Millsy out for a bit longer, and Parker had that 1 week off but showing himself. I hope we can do something there. Hopefully there's something we can do about that. What else, mate? Who else did you see out there that you enjoyed?
I liked, until he was cramping up, it was good to see Rampy back there, and obviously Melican. I know he came back just before, but I felt the back line was I couldn't really complain about the back line at all. I think we were disappointing up front, and it was the backs who really kind of kept us in the game, and I felt like Rampy had a lot to do with that early on.
Yeah, how's Melican one-on-one, man? Melican one-on-one's great.
He's got some strength.
Times his little body touches pretty well. Stayed clean. I don't think he got any frees caught against him. Maybe one. But like for some of those back guys, when they're starting to lose a contest, they start to cheat and they start giving away some frees. But he didn't. I don't think so. Pretty good. And I personally think that Francis played a better game because of it as well. Being able to be freed up a little bit. He was on King for a fair few times there, and I thought it did a decent job there. That back line looked all right.
Yeah, it is. It definitely seems better with a couple of more experienced heads there in the back in the team.
Yeah, it's funny to say Melican's an experienced player, but he kind of is, right, in comparison to the guys we have out there.
Oh, yeah, compared to guys like Gould and Francis has played enough.
Yeah. All right, mate, what about bad? I'll take a bad, if you don't mind. 31.5% inside 50 efficiency, like very bad, very, very bad. Under a third of the inside 50s were relatively efficient. Our average for the year is 47%, and that's still not even good, and let alone 31%. So the going forward was ugly, a very, very ugly game for us, and something we need to do something about. I don't know whether we were hunting Buddy so much because it was his 350th and we're trying to give him a big game, or whether we're just in that position now. That's just the state of things.
I mean, from where we were sitting, I haven't watched the game again or anything, but I just felt it was the usual. Just put it up a bit too high and not really it's to someone in particular, but it's a bit of a floating kick, and it was just too easily defended by the Saints. So, that was, for me, that was a disappointing statistic to see. But you could feel it at the ground as well.
Yeah. And I mean, how do we fix that? I mean, it's been going on for weeks now. I know, beautiful kicks inside 50s, just make forwards look better. But is it a harder working forward? Is it harder working mids? Is it just a general state of things right now? I'm not able to really put my finger to it. The best I can think of is, like I said, throw in Papley for some pressure, but I don't know what else to do really.
Yeah, was trying to think of. I did listen to Longmire's chat after the game. I'm not sure he could put his finger on it either. It's just a whole bunch of things, just skills lacking, and one of those skills is being able to get free and obviously just basically hit a pass that's, stays only a metre or two off the ground and moves forward. But in saying that, you also then need a forward who's able to push off his man and get out in front, and we're not getting that either. It just seems none of our forwards are able to lead with any space. And I'm not a full forward. I don't know what you do to that apart from get different personnel. But there's got to be something that forwards. Do we even have a forwards coach at the moment?
I don't know. I know Eamon Buchanan is on the group. I don't know whether he's necessarily the forwards coach. Maybe Buddy's coach player for the forwards. Kick it to me is the strategy.
Yep.
Look, I think it's a bit of. I think part of it is just like not really having proper forwards up there, and maybe not them playing enough with each other. Like Hayward and Buddy have played enough with each other. They should be able to do a fair bit. You know what I mean? Hayward's been well off this year. Well off. Easily his worst year of his career. And that's not to say that he hasn't got something that he can come back on, but it's been a rough one. And Buddy is, of course, on the last year, we'll presume, of his career, and despite that still being pretty decent, but we just don't have the fireworks there, especially with Logan out, to maybe put together enough plans for, positioning and leads and having angles and for the mids and whatnot to be aware of where their player is going to be. Because if you watch the Cats, as soon as their guys, they just kick it straight into a pocket or straight into a position where they know that's where their forward is going, just without even having to think twice. We don't have that. So, yeah, maybe it's just some gifted forwards is what we need, which we'll, I guess, touch on, later in the potty.
Well, we know we've got a gifted forward, but he's also 36 years old, 37 years old. And we do have a couple of gifted forwards. Well, we got Logan, who we're all expecting will give us big things. And he'll probably be that guy, but we just don't have it right now, obviously with him out, but even in saying that, he's still early days in his career.
Yeah, we're asking a lot of him, I think, when he comes back. But, yeah, I think we'll touch on that a bit more, mate. Anything else that you saw during the game that you want to point out?
Wasn't really bad. I mean, it was good for St Kilda, but, geez, they tackled the crap out of us. We I think we were about 40 tackles differential. Yeah, that's just high pressure. And, when the ball's a little bit slippery, you're not going to be doing a lot with it. When you're every time you pick it up, you got a guy putting pressure on you. So, not really a bad thing. It was something that worked really against us. Maybe we weren't tackling hard enough either, or we weren't putting enough pressure on them.
It's got to be said. I mean, I'm just trying to look at it. I think you're right. I think there were 99 tackles with their average being 60-something. So they came into the game with the plan to tackle a lot, tackle hard, lots of pressure around. And it looked at our guys were disheveled pretty quickly. And, yeah, as you said, kind of put that in touch with the ball being wet, the ground being dodgy, the cocoa butter and coconut oil just being flowing smoothly across the ground. It was just never going to be an easy game for us.
All the elements against us.
Yeah.
And also a few frees that kind of led to goals as well, which, while we're talking bad,
let's go for it.
Said there were 5. I only remembered 4. But obviously, I keep saying obviously, but there were the 2 50-metre frees that led to goals at the end. But in the second quarter, there were 2 frees we gave away inside our 50. One was right in front. One was basically next to the point post. And, you can't help frees in such a chaotic game all the time.
Yeah.
But it's definitely frustrating. I'm sure it's extremely frustrating for the players and coach, but for those watching as well. But yeah, that's a 4 or 5 goal turnaround. Just if they weren't in there.
We only lost by 14, so those 2 goals in that last quarter. One of them was, I think it was where Errol was it was Errol and someone else, maybe Foxy. Were Saints took the mark just outside of 50. I think it was Foxy that was on the player. Then Errol had run in, to apply pressure. He gets told stand, then was it stand, then back a meter, back a meter, and then 50 straight off the bat. So he had barely a second to react to all those instructions before they gave him the 50-meter penalty. Like a really ordinary showing by that guy, by that umpire, who I don't know who it is. I'm not going to mention names. I haven't looked it up or anything, but it was a pretty poor showing by him generally. So I don't know whether this was high in his amount of games he's ever umpired or low, but it was not a great one. It seemed like there was a lot of inconsistency wherever he was, and just kind of took the fun out of the game, out of it for both teams in a lot of ways, and definitely out for the Swannies.
Very deflating at the end. I think the other 50 just after that was over on the boundary. I thought it was almost equally inert, but still got called, which was rather frustrating. But what can you do? You're going to get those calls go against you.
Yeah, I mean, we always say it's just consistency. And it's really hard to apply consistency, especially against the Errol one. Like, stand, back 50, bang, blood whistle, off you go. Like, just shitty. Like, no one likes to see that. But yeah, we didn't necessarily lose the game on that, but it did not make it fun.
You wonder
even fun at all.
If Errol could hear him. I don't know how noisy it was. I can't remember how noisy it was at that point. But yeah, I wonder if he even heard him.
It was pretty noisy afterwards, for sure. I know that much.
There's plenty of booing at our end.
It was pretty bad afterwards. Yeah, I don't know. It was ordinary as hell, mate. I'll pick up the next stat. Unfortunately, another negative one. We're minus 15 in hitouts. So the Saints averaged just about 35 hitouts a game. This week they had 58. They crushed us in the hitouts. And that's not being inconsistent to what we've seen in other games. Definitely Hickey's not being the best that he can be. And without Laddams, we are very, very short on big ruckmen. So, but in terms of, it doesn't really compute to clearances, because we still are quite competitive in the clearances despite losing hitouts. And I kind of feel this is just a Swannies trait. We don't believe in getting hitouts. It's like a waste of time.
Well, I think we still won the overall clearance count. Won't say hugely, but significant enough. Yeah, and this is one which, Dean Cox and other ruckmen will probably hate me for, but sometimes I sit there and feel like the hitouts, they do matter, but only when you're winning, 75% of them. If you've got a good midfield that, is still able to get in front of the player that's getting tapped to, then it doesn't really matter. But in saying that, our problem is, sure, we might have led the clearance count in the end, but we didn't do enough with it. Probably got it inside 50 and then just ballsed it up from there.
Yeah, I mean, okay, to on your numbers, and the numbers back you up there, Bretty. So plus 25, sorry, we were negative 25 in hitouts for the game, but we were plus 10 in clearances. So, and that's despite having no Parker and no Millsy, who are both animals in the clearances. So it doesn't, how much does it matter? I mean, unless, like you said, unless you're getting, hitouts to advantage ratio of like 60%, 60 compared to a 30%, so that's 3 in 10. Sounds like a lot, right? But it doesn't really convey when you look at the numbers sometimes. So I don't really know what to think of it. I probably need to get someone in here like Coxie. He won't fit in my house for starters, but generally to get someone out here, maybe someone slightly smaller than him, to talk it out. I'd be interested, because
you mean explain your worth in the game.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. I might sit down with an absolute animal, like who's probably the scariest. Sean Darcy is a bit of a beast, so I might sit down with him one day and just ask him straight up, mate, what's the go with you? What's the point? and just see how that conversation goes for me.
I want to be in the same room when you ask that.
You're going to be wearing a Freo jersey while I'm having this chat, aren't you? I know you.
I'll be not seen and not affiliated with you in any way.
I do not know who that guy is. Yeah. Well, no, I'm not saying that there's no use for him, but I kind of feel that their use is like got to get hands on the ball, got to contest with it. It's the follow-up work that's more important, and then it's the outs, like being able to take a good contested mark or getting their hands on a big mark like that in the pack. To me, is the better worth of a ruckman than just the flat-out hit-outs, unless you've got someone like a Ryder or a Nick Nat in their prime who can just win a game for you. But yeah, not really. I mean, if you're in the middle of the ground and it's in the middle of the road of it, that's good enough, I kind of feel. So I don't know. I'd rather spend the money on a good mid in that case.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I don't really understand the advantages when it's tight. But yeah, I feel it's still probably more important who you're hitting to.
Yeah, exactly. If you're hitting to a Petrarca, even if it's a 50-50 ball on the ground, I'd be taking a Petrarca every day of the week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I'd be looking at. Yeah, okay. Well, mate, let's get into our favourite moments and missed chances. So I'll let you take it away. Favourite moments, missed chances, take it away.
Well, we're all there. I saw you filming it. But it was Buddy making himself the outright fourth greatest goal kicker, or leading goal kicker of all time. What was it? 1,058. I can't remember what it was that actually got him there. But yeah, that was great to see. A few of us felt like we all should have been running the pitch, but it didn't happen.
It would have been too slippery. It would have just been court cases left, right, and centre.
Would have been like that security guard who chased the streaker.
That's a favourite moment as well, for sure. That guy ran onto the ground wearing dress shoes. Our mate Zane, red and white, pointed out. So, like, the ground couldn't have been that slippery. The guy was fucking goose-stepping blokes everywhere. It was amazing.
And, he even pointed out one of them before he bounded over the fence and apparently was nowhere to be seen after it.
Unfortunately, they did catch him. They did get to him.
I don't know what the deal was, but someone told me they never saw him.
Oh, really?
Maybe he just kept going all the way up to Paddington, straight to the pub.
Unfortunately, I saw footage or a photo of him being taken away in cuffs.
So he did get done. Okay.
Yeah. I kind of feel cuffing someone is a bit unnecessary in that case. He just ran across a football field. You know what I mean? Like, he's not killed a man.
Well,
like
there was a guy who did his hamstring and probably couldn't work for 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, pretty much killed him. Killed him with his goose step. That's what he did.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Buddy's goal, fourth outright of all time in his 350th. Massive. And yeah, we made sure did we miss an opportunity here, Bretty? Should we have gone on the ground in hindsight? Or was it because of the Thursday night, no one was prepared for it? We weren't ready.
Only 30,000 people too. Not the biggest crowd.
No. Although we saw from the quality of those security guards, they wouldn't be able to hold no one back. So,
yeah, I wouldn't have been worried about that.
Okay. I would have gone, like we're all streaking. Everyone turn around. No one's behind me. That's the kind of thing. Maybe that's what I did to him. We go, let's jump to pitch, go jump on Buddy, and then he turned around 15 meters in and realized there was no one behind him, and just gone, oh bugger it, taking his shirt off and just went for a run.
Let's look at the timeline again. See when it was.
Yeah. I think it was well before that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he got excited. I'm okay with it. I will take Papley's goal, his first goal, which I think was the first goal for us generally, which we needed. Smashed it from just inside of 50 from recollection, bounced through. Crowd got up because Papley's not been at his best game. He's been a bit down, so everyone was kind of needing that. And you could feel it in the stands. It was like, all right, Papley's done something massive, get around it. You know, this is when it's going to start happening. And we did. We went for a bit of a run on the back of that. Around then, I think maybe it was a little bit going on before that, but it definitely felt like we were starting to get moving at that point.
Well, definitely. It wasn't too long after that too. There was Papley, Buddy, Wicks all kicked 3 goals in quick succession. Well, I felt like that. Yeah. I can't remember how long it was between each goal, but I thought that was got us all up as well, and it was all kind of kicked off by Papley.
It was all like it felt like it was happening. Like I remember going into the toilets at 3/4 time going, oh, we've got this. Like, this is good for us. We've got this. What a game. Like, we're starting to warm up at the right time. And then, yeah, the fourth quarter from hell. Anything from you, mate? Favorite moments, missed chances, any others?
What I found interesting was the amount of rucking that Foxy, I know it wasn't a huge amount, but it was all because it was right in front of us on the O'Reilly side. But Foxy played quite a bit of ruck, and I think he won 2 hit-outs. What I found interesting was there were 2 tall guys sitting in the forward 50, and he wasn't far from there, so I didn't understand why. He's not the shortest bloke on the field, but certainly not one that I would have he doesn't have the jumping ability of Heaney or anyone else to go into the ruck, so I just found it interesting. Not sure if it was a missed chance, but put it down.
Yeah, he had 15 ruck contests.
For 2 wins. There you go.
Yeah, for 2 wins, I think. Yeah, we won't see that happening again. In fact, Papley also had one for his trouble. So,
oh, really?
There you go.
Yeah,
why not? But on that note then, mate, like Hayden McLean, 17 ruck contests at 47%, so there's 50%, so let's just round it up. So when he does chop out, we've said this a few times, when he chops out, he has a pretty good standing. So we need him elsewhere. The poor guy's having to work everywhere. But Foxy can do everything. Rocket, I mean, he can't really, only 1-2, but he can get up in the ruck. He can play small, play tall. He can do everything.
We love him.
Foxy's the man. Yeah, love the Fox. All right, let's move on to the Bob Medal, which is our equivalent of the Bob Skilton Medal. We give out 3, 2, 1 points to the best Swans in each game. Bretty and I, for this week, mate, what should we give the winner? I haven't really thought this through.
I could dig around and find an old Maya voucher or something.
What was my Grace Brothers voucher?
Could serenade you with some Didge.
You can play a bit of Didge. I remember that. Yeah, that's right. All right, cool. We're going to go over your house, play some Didge, throw some old bits of cardboard at you. It's going to be awesome. 3, 2, 1 points. 3 points to Ollie, 2 points to the Chad, and 1 point to Braden Campbell. Mate, do you want to take it away with Ollie?
Yeah, I felt like if probably second most. Would you say it was his second best game of the year?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal game a few weeks ago. But yeah, I thought he was just solid. And I think you made a point earlier. Blakey went down early, came back on, then obviously got that head knock, and Horse said he kept him off because of his toe injury. And yeah, Ollie was just playing that, trying to play that rebound role. And yeah, he was great. He made a lot of ground. 34 touches, was it? Yeah, 34 I can see. So yeah, I thought he was. I do love Ollie. I think he's a very good player.
He's dependable. He has a pretty solid game. With Blakey not there, or just, I think I don't know what it was. He went in for a bit of a contest. I thought from the way I looked at it that he banged his knee on another knee and came up properly off the back of that. But the way the Horse was explaining it was he already had a bad toe going in, and it seemed like whatever happened just how does it say it?
HIA.
Exacerbated it?
Exacerbated
it. English is my second language.
You could have gotten away with that when you were 3.
I know. It's just, I've been learning English since I was 5 years old. Still haven't got my head around it. It's pretty tricky. There's silent letters and stuff. It's wild. 34 disposals, 4 inside 50s, 676 meters gained, best on ground, and 9 intercepts, second on ground. So, yeah, Ollie did really well, mate. I'm really happy with the way he goes about it, honestly. He just does his little thing. Everyone just leaves him alone. He never gets points in the Bob Medal unless, he's the only one being consistent. Everyone else is floundering around him. But he just does his mad, consistent job. And this week he really turned it up. So hoping that's the beginning of Ollie, really.
And you just watch him too. If you keep an eye on him in games, he's got fantastic hands. And he can take a ball running at speed, which is put behind him, and he'll still manage to reel it in. You'll see him do that once or twice a game. You can quote me on that.
Yeah, all right. Backhands. I like it. All right, mate. 2 points for the Chad. Do you want to give Chad some love?
Oh, I mean, we always give him love, don't we? He's just doing what Chad does. He'll take them on. He'll get caught once or twice trying to run with the ball. Actually, I think at the end there, goal might have gone against us because he got pinned. But in saying that, I think he got a hospital from Francis. But apart from that, he just works hard. We love him. Still making meters. And even this, for me, was you'd almost say a fairly quiet game for him. Not fairly, but quieter game. And we're still giving him 2 points. Yeah.
24 disposals, just over 500 meters gained, which I think for second or third for the Swans. 6 clearances. Yeah, Chad was really, really good.
Well, was there? If I remember reading that
7 tackles. So, 7 tackles. That's equal fourth for the game and best for the Swans alongside Errol. So, yeah, really, really good from the Chad. I mean, he had a bit of a quiet run a few weeks ago where we're like, oh, what's happened to him? He's gotten the blues, but he's been playing like particularly good in the last like maybe 4 games. So maybe the Chad's just found some consistency with his game, and that's what you need to see, right? Just the difference between like a decent player and an elite player. It's just the consistency. You can depend on them.
I think
so it's good to see Chad doing that.
I do think it was Windhager, I can't remember who it was, but someone did go to him and quietened him down a little bit, which I think Ross Lyon was happy with. So some players that might have him figured out, I'm not sure, but I still think he still gets around the attention.
Yeah, manages to find. I think they did it. The first game we saw someone go out to him this year, I recall. He had a super quiet game, like really quiet, barely touched it. I think he ended up with like 4 for like a half or something. I got to remember the game. But yeah, like you said, maybe he's just kind of figured out how to get played against, and it's only going to happen more. The better you play, the more they're going to pay attention to you, right? So Chad's learning from some half decent taggers and Millsy maybe. That'd be good. All right, matey. 1 point to Braden Campbell. This may be the first time Braden's received a bit of love on the Bob medal. So pretty exciting for a young player that we're expecting to see a lot more of. Looking forward to see him grow into an actual position because at the moment he's just filling in roles. What did you think about Campbell?
It's one of those games where I didn't really think about him too much until after. I mean, he kicked that goal, which I can't remember if it actually brought it back level for us towards the end of the game. So obviously that was a big moment. But otherwise he just got stuck in for most of the game. He was just there. Not a huge amount of touch. I mean, a decent amount of touches, 22, and plenty of meters gained, nearly 600. But yeah, not quiet, but he was just there for the whole game. And I would love to see him playing not the back line, just playing anywhere else, just where he can roam freely. Yeah,
I was going to ask you that. Where would you see his role being, the bazooka?
I mean, I don't know where he played his juniors, whether you'd have him on the ball, but definitely start him on, maybe give him a bit more of a run on the wing. Possibly even on the ball. I don't know how we go there. I just don't know what he played in his juniors and what his main positions were, but I would just love I would love to see him running more between our defensive 50 and the goals because he can kick a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I rate him. I think he's really good with his pressure too, his tackles. He still slips off a couple of the blokes every now and then, but he's pretty intense about it, and he gets up on his feet pretty quickly and he's straight back at it again. Like I've seen him have multiple attacks at tackle, like inside 50, like 4 or 5 just getting at it and maybe not landing any of them, but the fact that he's running to put the pressure on is pretty good. I'm pretty happy. So he does have the energy. He's building the tank. Inside word is Jules sees him all the time, running around looking flash around Manly way, around your way. So he does. I suspect that he's been groomed to go inside eventually. But what that looks like, I don't know. But yeah, I would love to see him with more of the ball. I mean, he's a decent size, 171 centimeters, 80 kilos. I think he's looking bigger than that. But yeah, I think we will hopefully for this next half of the year, if we're honest with ourselves, we're probably not looking at finals for this year. We'll go into that in just a sec. We start swinging some magnets around. Maybe he does see some inside minutes. We'll find out.
Love to
soon enough. Yeah. Mate, notable players outside of Ollie, Chad and Campbell. Who else did you have out there that we should give some love out to?
I would start with McLean. He's 4 contested marks. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but he's just got such a strong set of hands. Yeah, I think he's going to be great. So, and as you said, he did go in and do a bit of ruck work, but I just love how he can bring a ball down in a pack. 4
contested marks, best on ground as well. Keep that in mind. So there was not much in the air that was being grabbed. It was pretty poor.
Yeah, and he's just, I don't know, I just love when you can see 5 plex going in a contest and someone brings it out. It's it's great. It's great to see McLean being able to do that, and I hope he does a ton of it for us in the coming years.
Yeah. When he's out of position, he gets to position quickly, I noticed, and then still impacts the ball. So if he sees 3 guys going up against Buddy, his eyes will light up. He'll run into the middle. He'll crash a pack, get the ball to ground, and just do little things that you don't notice, and you won't necessarily get a stat for it. But yeah, I rate him a lot. I think we all do in the bevy. Hopefully we can, hold him, and hopefully he finds himself in a role that makes sense to have your skills, man. I'll take Rowie. I felt Rowie had a pretty good game. 9 clearances, best on ground, 17 contested possessions, best on ground, and 21 rating points, best on ground. So the rating points are the champion data rating points that all Fox News and everything gag over. But it just goes to show that even despite him not making his tackles, I think he only had the 4 tackles, and up until now he's had a 7.5 tackle average. He only did 4 tackles for this week. It is still a showing that he then will find a different way to start impacting. And we were talking off before the potty started that with Parker being out, I kind of had this impression that he was given the license to attack the actual ball more rather than the person, rather than going for tackles. He was asked to get more of it. And he did. His average for this week was well higher in possessions than it was any other week. I think you said it was 10 was his average for contested possessions for this year?
Yeah, it was. And then got 17 on Thursday.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
might be some truth in that comment there, but you'd have to go and ask old mate Dean.
Ask Horse. Yeah, ask Mr. Dean Cox. I won't ask. I'll hold back on the ruck contest question until we get all the other questions asked first, of course. Mate, anyone else that you want to pick up?
One thing I do love is even when Errol doesn't have a prolific game and get a whole lot of ball, it's such a high percentage of his touches he kicks, so he makes good yards off his. He's very effective with his touches, and he had one of those games where he had 16 touches and 14 of them kicks, which was, we'll just say typical Errol now.
Yeah, typical Errol. He's such a gun, eh? Like,
oh yeah, he is.
Just watching him get better and better.
That roost, his goal from 50, just absolutely drained it. It's so good to see.
Look, hey, and 5 stoppage clearances as well for Errol. So that's second for the Swans, and second for the ground. Full stop. So yeah, even though he doesn't get his 40-odd touches or 30-something touches that he's done lately, just still does good stuff around the ground, man. I would take the beef, Angus Sheldrick. First game, like we said, in the guts, I felt he played really well. 7 clearances, second on the ground. I kind of suggest that we see him a fair bit more. But Where that is and how we do that, where we mix it up a bit, I don't know, but I would love to see him get more of it because he looks really natural. He attacks it really hard. He goes at it. He's a good size. It's all looking great for Sheldrick. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of him. He's a little unit. Mate, anyone else on your side you want to pick up?
Probably last one I'll mention, and this is more for Superfan Sam. One of the regulars on the halftime comments that you'll do, Aaron Francis with 14 1%ers, 7 intercepts through the game. I think when we've got a stronger backline as in a full complement, say Tommy McCartan back in as well, then we'll probably see Francis come into his own. And he's just a big body. I think he'll be good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Superfan Sam, this is for you, mate. Like, Francis is and for anyone else out there that is questioning Francis, he's doing the job. The job he's doing it. He's doing it quite well, actually. He's doing it surprisingly better than we expected for someone who has had just walked into a team with effectively no backline and is making it up as goes along. We have Melican in for the first game back since the elimination final in 2022, I think, 2021. That's our backline is green as they come, and he's been pretty decent, and he's getting up numbers like the 7 intercepts, as Bretty mentioned, and the 14 1%ers, his best on ground. So he's doing a good job. Sammy, enough, mate. You gotta come on board the Francis wagon. It's only a small wagon, and we said we'll get a bigger wagon when time persists. We'll eventually get a bus. It's going to be awesome. But for now, it's a small van. We're going to get there. The Francis wagon is good. It's fine. Just jump on board. It's warm inside. It's fine. All right. We'll get pies on the way home. I don't know. We'll work it out, mate. Matey. All right. Post game. Let's talk about what happened after the game. Injuries, MRO, and replacements. Matey, do you want to take it away with injuries with Blakey?
Yeah, we heard this afternoon. Well, he said too. The main concern was that hit that Butler put on him, where he had to go off. Well, I thought that was the main concern, actually. He might have been more concerned about his foot earlier, which I missed. But Horse said he passed the HIA, and the concern was the toe injury that he'd gone into the game with. But I hadn't read anything about it after, so I don't know if there's anything to be worried about.
I think even Horse said that he's like, yeah, he looks fine for next week. He didn't give any like indication that there might have been something else to it or something worse than just a bit of soreness, and they got banged up. So yeah, I agree. I think maybe we see him back next week and it's okay. But at this time of year, they're all a bit banged up, especially how hard Blakey's haven't been able to play, been forced to play, especially with the whole backline being out. So yeah, Blakey probably deserves a day off, but he's not going to get it. 7-year extension for the big man. Super happy with that. What do you think?
Yeah. Great to see. Yeah, well, I mean, we love watching him. He's very exciting. Does overcommit every now and then to a contest, but he is great to watch.
Yeah. And with his dad, is his dad still over there at the Kangaroos now? I think he is.
I actually don't know. But
I think
possibly,
he might be.
Yeah, I know he obviously was.
Yeah.
North
so when
through.
his dad went over there, I'm pretty sure he's at the Roos still. I was worried at that point. I'm like, oh, great, Melbourne's going to take him back. But when he signed on for this 7-year deal, he mentioned clearly that Sydney was his home. Sydney was the team he grew up loving, and he just wanted to be here. So he just locked it in, basically. So we've got him locked in for the entirety of his what you'd imagine would be the peak of his career, right? All those great years in his mid and late 20s that we're going to get all of that, which is freaking great, right? Considering how unique of a player he is. There's no one like him in AFL. There's many similar, but no one like that. So, man, super happy we're having him for another 7 years. Can't go wrong with that.
Indeed.
Yeah. MRO, mate. I didn't hear anything about MRO unless you heard otherwise.
Butler got 1 week for the tackle on Blakey, but that was it from the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's of course that somewhat controversial one.
Yeah, which I thought there was nothing in it. I just thought he just kind of smashed him, and yeah, it was just unfortunate that Blakey, his head hit the ground. But But he got a week, and I assume they'll appeal it if they haven't already.
I'm starting to get confused with this. We're protecting the head at all costs, right? So like the swinging tackle, you swing the bloke into the ground, their head ricochets off the floor. That's not allowed, except for when you do it to Hickey, right? Then it's okay. Then it's just like, oh yeah, his head did hit the ground, bounced off the ground, but it was more because of his fault, right? He was the problem there.
He didn't protect himself, apparently.
He didn't protect himself, or his hair was too beautiful, and we can't have that in AFL. Everyone needs short hair like Buddy, otherwise they're no good to anyone, right? But then I can totally appreciate, and I agree with you. I appreciate that tackle just was a solid tackle, and the head hitting the ground was accidental, just like it was in Parker's tackle that he did against I can't remember who it was. Just like Sarah's tackle against Hickey was last week or 2 weeks ago. All accidental. No one meant to throw the guy's head into the ground. It wasn't malicious. It definitely wasn't done in an ugly way. I don't get where the consistency is here. I'm really confused of what is a decent tackle where someone hits the ground hard. It kind of feels like now if you stop momentum of the player, let go of them. Because at that point, they're going to hit the ground. It's probably going to be an unfair tackle.
Yeah, which is...
I can't see it.
For those that grow up playing footy and loving the physicality of it, it's a tough one. I don't know if you saw the Sicily one on McCluggage. That was pretty brutal.
I haven't, no.
Just knocked him out cold. They're the kind of swings that need to be stamped out. But yeah, this one here, I don't know what Butler's supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything bad in it. I mean, I was happy for the 50, and at the time where I watched it, I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But then in watching it since then, I'm like, wow, there wasn't really anything in that, and I can totally understand that if it doesn't get fined, or it doesn't get maybe gets a careless low impact or whatever the hell they grade it and walks away with a fine, I'd be totally okay with that. But this this whole system, I don't know what players are meant to do about it anymore. I'm starting to get confused.
Yeah, there was obviously none against us for the MRA this week.
Hang on, am I watching the right one? No, he's got his head hit.
You're watching the Brady one.
Oh, no, I'm watching the McCluggage one.
Oh, yeah. For those listeners out there, just kind of swung him around full and then gave him a little ritual, we used to call it in the league, and looked back and realised he was out cold.
Yeah, right. I'm just watching it one more time. I mean, I think part of it that he got knocked out cold because there was another Hawks player that came in the way, and he kind of banged his head off a moving player.
Possibly, maybe I didn't look at it properly.
And then when McCluggage had his head kind of underneath his chest and hit on the ground. And then, Sicily gave him the ritual, as Bretty mentioned. That's an ugly look. I don't like that. Also looks like a bit of lack of care for the player. So that's the part of it that I'm not a big fan of. But I don't know. I'm still confused about the whole thing. I'm hoping that the AFL can come out. Look, I was using this example, the Ginnivan rule, right? Last year when everyone started booing Ginnivan, that poor kid, doing what Selwood had been doing for a decade, right? Lifting his shoulder, copying it in the side of the head. He was getting away with that forever. Ginnivan started doing it. They started calling him out on it. They call it the Ginnivan rule, and people started booing the poor kid for doing what Selwood had made famous for 10 years. It took us so long for the AFL to finally catch on that this was happening on purpose before they made a rule about it, and now they're starting to call it, somewhat decently. I don't want this one to take 6 years for us to work out what makes a good tackle and a bad tackle. They've got to work it out faster because everyone's confused. Players are confused. Fans are confused. MRO's clearly confused. Everyone's baffled about this. And I think we've got to stamp this out of the game a bit faster than we normally do, preferably. Anyway, been talking about it for some time. Replacements, mate. With Parker coming back in, do you see any other changes going on with the team? Who would have to come out? Do
you think Sheldrick would hold on to his spot? I don't know, see what Horse does. But if anyone would it's a tough one because we're going up to Brisbane and if you're ever going to tag anyone, it's going to be Lachie Neale. So does Ryan Clark stay in? I just feel like Clark needs a rest again. I'm not sure he's doing enough to hold on to his spot. There might be people who disagree, but I would almost say that Clark would have to make way.
Yeah, I agree with that. He hasn't done enough to stick into the team, I guess. He's a role player, great tagger, few better. We've proven that multiple times in the last couple of years when they found his role towards the last part of last year. But I don't think he is a lock-in for the team. I can appreciate why we kept him on the team, considering we needed all the experience we could get. And our VFL team, well, let me just touch on the VFL team, won their first game of the season this week against Sandringham, 12 games in. So we're not really blowing it up anywhere. So maybe you just kept them in. But now with a few players, some time underneath them, and Sheldrick calling for a spot, you'd say, yeah, I say that he's one of the players that can sit out. Cunningham, what do you think about Cunningham? I know people have been calling for his blood for some time.
Yeah, look, we all love him. But at the same time, I'd be totally understanding if he was left out. He's having a lower impact on the games, I feel, these days than he used to. So I wouldn't be upset if Harry was given a spell as well.
Yeah. And what about Haywood? Haywood's the other person that people are calling for blood for.
Yeah, I feel like he's been given a lot of chances. I don't know about Haywood. He does do a lot of, he can bring the ball down. He does work hard, as we've spoken about. But I'm not sure that he's going to get given a rest. But arguably, our forwards are the ones. Forwards definitely didn't perform on the weekend, and you would have to question, whether any of them need to be put on notice. And A would be, he'd be in line for that. Yeah,
I just don't see him being as impactful as has been other years. Like he's not getting his one-on-ones. He's not getting the room for it. He's not getting his leads. He's doing a fair bit up the ground, I noticed. But is that just indicative of the situation we're in, where we're just not getting deep inside 50s, or just not getting enough impact to go forward, and so he's having to come up to get some of his own ball? Like, I don't know what to do about his role. Like,
yeah, well, I always thought he was he plays fairly tall, and he's supposed to be there to take overhead grabs, and he's not really doing that. So, just another player who I feel maybe a little spell will give him a kick. I don't know, he'd probably go and destroy the VFL. Who knows? Yeah.
Look, Mark Sheether is a bloke that I would have loved to see him have more time up forward. He looks good, but he's out injured, and it looks like he might be for some time. The good news is that we have a couple of new guys that popped up. So at the rookie draft, we picked up two. We picked up Jack Buller, 22-year-old, 199 centimetres, 99 kilos as a key forward, and apparently, from all accounts, very good in the ruck. Now, there is a lot of really positive things said about Jack Buller. In particular, there's been mention that he's right to go and has been for some time. And there's questions as to how no one's picked him up until now is baffling everyone. So that's super exciting. Like, great size, 199 centimetres, 99 kilos. He's good to go. He's a key forward. This is what we need. We definitely need more forwards in with Logan out and with Haywood not playing his best. We are kind of asking for some help, really. The other player that we picked up at the rookie draft was Harry Arnold, 24-year-old, 194 centimetres, 95 kilos, key defender. From all accounts, another player who is good to go, playing out of Brisbane. People in Brisbane calling that he's grand and he's fantastic, and they're really going to miss him. But he just didn't have the opportunity in the higher ups in the AFL, so it looked like he is down for us for now. I think from what I saw, that Harry Arnold is actually a massive Swans fan anyway. So that's crazy exciting for him and us because you want to have someone playing with you that has always loved the team. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man, I'm pretty happy. Did you know anything about these two players, mate, before we signed them all up?
Zero.
Yeah. No, same. I was the same.
I'm sure Noddy would have known a thing or two about them though.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, in last week's podcast where we had it and then the recording buggered up, so I had to do the last part myself. We had a solid half an hour talking about the players and we actually went into them a fair bit, but we didn't get to keep any of it. But yeah, from all accounts, Harry Arnold out of Brisbane, Gold Coast system, and I think, and then moved to Brisbane to play for them. He's very good. Hoping to see this go pretty well for us. And from all accounts, they both played pretty well in first games. So we are looking at seeing them come in relatively soon. So we're maybe starting to see a bit of competition for positions again, which is something we very much missed this year because we did not have any.
Yes, the depth doesn't seem to be there like it was last year before.
Yeah. HHK, Hugo Kahan or Kahan, I've forgotten how to pronounce it. From all accounts, from everyone who's watched the games, unfortunately I didn't get to watch it, but he's good to go. He's ready for a blooding. So he's another fella that we predict we might see something out of in that forward line. So if we are going to have Hayward have a week off, then maybe he's a kind of player that sees part of that. We'll find out.
Do you reckon Amadi gets another run in the VFL before he comes back up?
Yeah, look, the thing with Amadi,
straight back.
Yeah, look, the thing with Amadi is that the things that he doesn't do well is something that you can't work on during an AFL game. So it's the tank is not there, and he's keeping his feet for me is the other one. Like, definitely the tank, like, what are you going to do about that early on? I know he's coming back off the hammy. I really don't want to see him go out there too early and just, ping it again because that's the season done. I don't know, mate. I'm excited about having him. I want to see him, but I wouldn't necessarily be dropping anyone to have him. I'd be happy to have him kind of come in for injury and try to have some more time in the VFL to work on some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I thought maybe he would have got to run the VFL, given he had extended time out. But yeah, I guess Horse had other plans, and he didn't really have much of an impact when he came on the weekend or on Thursday. Yeah.
He missed his one shot at goal, which would have been nice for him to have because we needed that, and that would have been great. Kick out, break glass in case for emergency, party hard. It would have been great to have seen him in there kicking goals, but it is what it is. Mate, anything else in the replacement side that we need to consider? Are you ready to move on to next game?
Couldn't really think of anything. We probably hit all the targets. So nothing else to add for that. So let's look at Brizzy.
Yeah. Brizzy at home is strangely good. They're very, very good at home. And we got them. They did lose against the Hawks, though, this week. And I'm trying to see what the score was. I didn't get to watch the game. Did you get to see it at all, mate?
No, I didn't watch any of the game. I actually just had the score updates as it was going on. Yeah. It was surprising to see. That you'd expect they'd bounce back fairly hard. It's quite the upset. Mind you, the Hawks have 3 out of their last 4? But that's obviously the biggest scalp. Brisbane. So we don't have the worst record against them at home, though. If you remember, it was at the start of last year. Upset them first game, and I'm trying to remember 2 years ago. I'm trying to remember what we did to them last year.
2 years ago.
I'm not scared of playing Brisbane at home.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm hoping we do something with it. It's going to be a tough game. They're looking pretty good, but they are a funny team, eh? Sometimes they just turn it on, and sometimes they just can't kick a goal. They'll kick 1,000 behinds and get on with it. But
you look across, they've got so much talent in that team.
Yeah.
And you bring in a guy like Dunkley.
Yeah, far out.
Just to strengthen it when you got McCluggage and Zach Bailey and Lockie Neal, and then up forward guys like Charlie Cameron.
the best small forward in the game, I'd reckon. Rayner, who can do a bit of everything.
Yeah, and you got a 7'4" like Danaher.
Yeah, I know. What do you think about that? Do you reckon we should have taken Danaher in the end? He was looking to go north. I think he put his head up, and we didn't want to go for it.
I just don't see the consistency in him. I'm trying to think of years where he's gone close to the Coleman. I'm struggling to think of them.
I think there might have been only one or two, and not even one of them was particularly close. But yeah, it sometimes does disappear a fair bit. I don't know, and then he went for a period there like doing a Mackay where he just couldn't kick straight. But it seems like he's kind of cleared some of those things up now. But hindsight's 50-50. Hindsight is absolutely not 50-50. Hindsight is easy to understand, but I'm glad we didn't, in hindsight, take him up. Do you want to make a prediction at all, or do you want to mention anything about the game?
No, because I thought we beat the Saints. So I certainly don't want to try and predict this one. Look, you'd think Brisbane would be too strong for us. As I said, I'm not scared of playing there, but also we still don't have a full complement. So it's hard to go in confident against the top 4 team. I think they're still top 4 after their loss, aren't they? Or have they dropped to 5th? Anyway, I'll check the ladder.
A quick look. Yeah, they're coming 4th still. Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. I don't think I'm... Yeah, I don't think I want to back this. Yeah, I'm not going to be brave enough to say we'll beat them.
Well, let's just look at it this way. Brisbane and St Kilda are on the same points alongside Essendon. Jeez Louise, where'd that come from? Brisbane and St Kilda on the same points with 3%, marring the two of those positions. So they're just about equal with each other in terms of where the season's been so far. So if we're going to use a bit of logic there, maybe we aren't too far off the game, really. And maybe upsetting Brisbane at home isn't beyond us, perhaps. Let's find out. Maybe with Rampy looking a bit fitter after a week on the ground, having a more solidified back line that maybe worked together for a little bit longer. Melican coming back in and doing a role. Parker back in the game. We were expecting to get anyone else back after the bye. I think Amadi was one of them. Logan's still probably another month out. Millsy's out for another few.
Sheath is still in a moon boot.
Okay.
Wasn't he? I can't recall. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think there's anyone else. Tom Harley didn't mention it when we were all licking up and throwing questions at him a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, I think we should take this opportunity to apologise to Tom Harley.
Sorry, Tom, for being
too zealous. Let's just say that. Too much excitement. Yeah. Good times. All right, we'll move on to one last thing. So I had a Pride Week special this week where I actually sat down with Serena Jackson, who's the number 1 ticket holder for 2023 and also the head of the Rainbow Swans. And so we had a very timely chat discussing everything to do with the Rainbow Swans, how the initiative started, where it's up to now, the situation for LGBTQI plus people and in the community and what the Swans and the AFL generally are trying to do about it. It was a very fun chat. She's very knowledgeable, speaks very, very well. And we got to go into a few topics and try to touch on a few of them relatively deeply, including how she was explaining how doing these kinds of initiative for Pride round, and it's not a whole round, unfortunately, the AFL hasn't come around to it. It's only a game, so Pride game between Saints and the Swans, is an initiative that will save lives with LGBTQ plus I, young people being the number 1 suicide. Turning on the TV and seeing a football game where they've got some rainbow flags going around is going to save lives in her eyes, and I don't disagree at all. So massive initiative for a whole bunch of different reasons. I would really love to for the AFL to just kick it on for the entire round, mate. What do you reckon about that?
I think it was great that you got to have a chat, and something you don't think about, just for those young people that are battling, to see something like that, and then as Serena put it, potentially turn them around. That's huge, and just something that personally I wouldn't have even thought too much about as being a way of helping resolve some of those issues.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just one of those things that there's gay fellas in the AFL. The statistics tell us, if anything, it's going to be higher than regular community. Okay, so they're out there quietly in the teams, doing their own little thing, staying out of the limelight, and to pop their head out may be disastrous for them career-wise and in the community-wise, socially. But what we can do in terms of supporting our own fans and just the community generally is just doing little things like this. So it should be the whole round. I reckon we should be petitioning for that. There's no excuse for that. It'd be ridiculous for any club to avoid that. It just makes perfect sense too. Mate, right, well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you, Bretty, for joining in once again, despite the loss. I promise we'll get you on for a win one day, mate. Go work it out sometime.
Because that would be a good sign. If I'm only here for the losses, then
okay.
You don't want to hear from me again.
Yeah, you're right. No, if we lose your number, I'll be happier for it for a few ways, eh?
Indeed. So. I'm sure the fans will. Anyone that listens will be very happy with that.
That's it. Well, look, for all the fans out there, please, if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. It does make an enormous difference to the podcast, and we really appreciate it. We have seen people doing exactly that in the last few weeks, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you to those who have. And for those who haven't, it takes 2 seconds. If you're listening to this anyway and looking forward to this podcast, make sure you like it, because it does bring our numbers up. It makes a big difference for what we can do with the potty. So thank you very much for listening in the meantime. We'll see you at the Brisbane game, or some of us will see you at the Brisbane game anyway. Until then, up the bloods. And can you Swannies?